Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to ObsecTactics. Today we're discussing the Warlord traits in the, I say new, it's been out for a couple of weeks now, but the new Deathguard Codex. Specifically, we're going to be taking a look at how they're best used and what we think are our favorites.
Yeah, so there's some really cool stuff here. Most of them make your characters tougher or shut down your opponent's game plan.
So, first one, Revoltingly Resilient. This is your classic Disgustingly Resilient from 8th edition, the 5-up Feel No Pain we all knew and loved. Now your Warlord gets to take it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's 5-up for ignore wounds. It's effectively increases your wounds by a third just for having a Warlord trait. At least on mathematical averages. Everyone knows that you can spike 5s or you can just not roll them for a game.
Yeah.
But but so on Mortarion, he's got 18 wounds. It gives him the equivalent of 24 wounds just from this Warlord trait.
Yeah,
and Mortarion gets 3 of these Warlord traits.
I think technically it gives him a little more than that, right? Because then I'd have to work out actually what the maths was, but he'll obviously save a third of those 18 wounds, right? Which is 6. So he's then going to save a further third of those, right? Which is 2. So it's going to be just a little bit above a third, actually. So it's actually really good.
Yeah, so it's really good, and it's much better the more wounds you have. So if you're taking Mortarion, he gets this anyway. So he already has a lot of wounds. It's a good Warlord trait on him. If you're taking this on a Demon Prince, it's probably pretty good there too.
Absolutely. So let's crack on with the next one then. Living Plague. Now this is one that's not going to make your Warlord any tougher. However, what it will do is give them a 3-inch aura, whereby enemy units in that aura can't benefit from any of their friendly auras unless they're given by psychic powers.
Yeah, so it's really good. Currently, I believe rules as written, it affects Synapse on Tyranids, and is it Basham lads from the Orcs, where the war boss can make them take D3 mortal wounds instead of
bash some heads or something like that. It is
bashing heads. I think that's an aura. So there's a few things that it affects on top of the normal ones. So the rerolls to hit, the rerolls to wound, and things like that.
Yeah. Now on its own, this Warlord trait at 3 inches would be pretty meh. However,
you can very easily make it 6 with a relic.
And if you're running a specific plague company, you can get it up to 12.
Yeah.
And this is where the shenanigans happen, because if you've got people deep striking with bonuses to their charge, like Blood Angels, or do you know what? In fact, any Space Marines that are running a chaplain with the, I can't remember which one it is, Canticle or a Litany of Hate or something, they get +2 to the charges. And, a lot of these guys are rerolling their charges as well, but you have to put them back up to 9. It's pretty cool. And if you're taking away the fact that they can receive the reroll charge aura as well,
nice. It's real good. I have a list that has this Warlord trait put onto a Plague Surgeon, who I'm already giving the Fugaris Helm to, which gives him 6-inch auras now. And then it's a Ferryman's attachment, so I make it a 12-inch aura for 1 CP.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to use that. I like that a lot, actually. So this has to be top. It's a little bit like it just limits you a little bit, because if you're taking Mortarion, it's definitely him that's getting it.
If you've got it on Mortarion, it's going to be 3 inches, so it's basically whatever he's fighting.
Yeah.
But if you're not taking Mortarion, there are some ways to make this really big and have it as such a battlefield altering effect, where there's so many armies that rely on auras. Something that would be worth checking at some point is the greater good an aura for the Tau?
Yeah, that's pretty scary. I'm just thinking with his with Living Plague. So you can't buff it with the flash outbreak thing because it's not
No,
a
it's not a contagion.
contagion.
So
Is
you
there any
can't
way
make it
to
bigger
buff
with
this?
that.
Is there any way to buff this whilst it's on Mortarion?
No,
Because
the psychic power affects contagions
and
only.
the droning thing is Virion models only, isn't it? With auras.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there's no way to buff this on Mortarion.
yes.
So
While it's on Mortarion, it's there. It's nice to have because he's going to be a big distraction for your opponent's army anyway. And if they're coming in to fight him in close quarters, then they have to deal with him shutting down all of their effects.
yeah, so there it is. All right, now the next one's a bit simpler. Hulking Physique. So this is add one to the wounds characteristic of your warlord, and they basically get transhuman physiology.
Yeah, so it's really good on your lower toughness characters.
Yeah,
So
you get more effectiveness out of it for sure. So it's a
yeah,
nice way if you want to really sort of make a Virion model a bit more durable, or maybe a Plaguecaster or something like that, because then they get the extra wound. Putting it on a Demon Prince, I think, is a bit of a waste. There's other warlord traits here that benefit him more, I think.
I would still argue that on a Demon Prince, if you're not taking the separating plate, this might be better than Rotten Constitution, which we'll get to in a minute, because having effectively transhuman on whichever character you put it on is a straight defensive buff. And Rotten Constitution, when we get to that one's a defensive buff as well. And they kind of even out. But I think if you say on a Demon Prince where you've only got a 3+ save, having transhuman is probably going to serve you better than the effects you get from the other ability. But if you give it a 2+ save, then I'd say go for the other one.
Yeah. Okay, so next up is Arch Contaminator. This one has taken a big old hit with a nerf hammer. In fact, I would say it's fallen out of the nerf tree and hit every branch on the way down.
It's still a good warlord trait. It's just
it is. Now there's a couple
it's such
of
a
things,
limited range now.
Yeah, there's a couple of things actually I don't like about how this works. Now let's discuss the nerf that it took. So it only applies to your core units. It's a 6-inch range. In melee, it's exactly the same. Your plague weapons get full rerolls to wound.
Yeah.
However, plague weapons at range now only get full rerolls to wound if the firing unit is within 12 inches of their target. Now, that's not a bad thing, but the problem is that if you're running Mortarion, he's going to outpace most of the things that going to benefit from this. You know, he's going to leave your Terminators, your Blight Lords, and your Plague Marines for dust. So it's a bit of a shame there.
Depending on how you play him, but yes, he is much faster than the rest of your army, so he has the opportunity to do that. And unless you're getting good deep strikes with Blight Lords or Death Shrouds, you're probably not getting a huge benefit out of it from Mortarion.
Yeah, that's the problem. Now, if it was a case of the bloat drones with their flesh mowers, something that could actually keep up with Mortarion and then benefit from this.
I mean, they didn't get core, which is it's a real shame.
Yeah, now if that was the case, I would love it. But again, it's one of these ones that actually I think is better. Same as Living Plague, I think it's better not taken with Mortarion.
Yeah, and we were even looking at the Hellbrutes, but I've just looked over it, and the Hellbrutes don't get any plague weapons.
Can they benefit from that stratagem, I wonder, which turns weapons into... Oh no, that only applies to bolt guns, doesn't it? Yeah, that's a shame. Real shame.
So you can't even run some like double fist Hellbrutes up with him to get Arch Contaminator.
Yeah. Oh well. Now this next one's probably my favourite, only because of the way I like to run Deathguard. But Gareth is slowly convincing me that actually maybe I want to start running a Lord of Contagion. But that's a discussion for another time.
Well, there are so many benefits to a Lord of Contagion, and we will speak about that in a later video.
Yeah. So this is Rotten Constitution. You get 1 extra toughness, which is not bad. It only takes Demon Princes up to 7.
Yes, they're not getting any benefit apart from against strength 7 weapons.
Yeah, it doesn't take you to that 8 bracket where it really matters.
Yeah,
But here's where it is really good. Each time an attack is made by a -1 or -2 AP weapon, you ignore it.
yeah, I mean, that's just really good. You've got,
I mean, so you give him the separating plate, so he's got a 2-up
yeah,
save. That's how to get the most sort of efficiency out of this. So
on a Demon Prince, yeah.
yeah, he's getting 2-up
Um,
saves, ignoring -1 and -2. So he's really kind of immune to what do you call them? Assault intercessors. In fact, any kind of bolt gun shredding armies. You know, you're going to be
yeah,
saving everything, even with their doctrines. You're going to be saving everything on 2s.
yeah, it's really good for that. And on, say, your Lord of Virulence or Lord of Contagion, you've still got your relic slot that you can play around with. But I think for Demon Princes, if you're taking this Warlord trait, you really want the separating plate as well.
The 2 go hand in hand so well.
Because if you're taking a Demon Prince without the separating plate, you're probably looking more at hulking physique.
Yeah, yeah. I would, for me, they kind of sit about even, and then putting separating plate on Rotten Constitution kind of sends it to that
all
next
three
level.
of the big defensive buffs from these Warlord traits, so Rotten Constitution, hulking physique, and Revoltingly Resilient, they're all kind of in the same ballpark.
Yeah, it's how you use them in conjunction with other
things.
It's
which characters benefit from each one the most.
Yeah. We get on to the last one. It's not really
shame
worth
we had to end
about.
On such a note.
It is. Why couldn't they put this as the third one or something? So it's foul effluence. It's an aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 of the warlord at the end of the movement phase, roll 1d6, and on a 4+, they suffer 1 mortal wound. There's no 6s do d3. It only goes off on a 4+.
It's every enemy unit takes a mortal wound on a coin flip. If this had an option to do D3 sometimes, yes, it's at the end of your movement phase. Yes, you can put this on a Virion model and with the ferryman make it 12 inches. But it's 1 mortal wound.
Yeah.
It's just not strong enough.
You kill 1 guardsman in a squad. You kill half an intercessor.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Even if it only had on a roll of a 6, you do D3, this would be something slightly more interesting to look at that you might stick on a Virion to extend the range out. Because if you can make a huge range on this, you might use it to just do some mortal wounds to every enemy unit every turn. But if it's 1 mortal wound, it's just not strong enough.
Nowhere near.
Not when you've got such easy access to so many more mortal wounds in this book.
Yeah, there's no shortage of mortal wounds in this book at all. So yeah, that kind of rounds up our discussion of warlord traits. As far as we're concerned, we've got the top ones are really your defensive buffs, right? So it's your Revoltingly Resilient, it's your Rotten Constitution, your hulking physique.
I'd call all 3 of those top tier.
Yeah. For my personal favourite by far is the Rotten Constitution. Love it. I think with it's just so good being able to ignore that. And then Living Plague it's kind of conditional. Mortarion, it sits at middle. Without Mortarion, top tier.
Yeah, so Living Plague and Arch Contaminator, I'd probably just put those as the middle tier because they're both going to have situations where they're really good, and they're going to have situations where they're not as good because of maybe the characters you put them on, or the ability to keep your army up with your Arch Contaminator, or even get into that 12-inch range. Some opponents are just going to stay well away from you. and not engage you in close combat because they know how scary Deathguard can be when they're in there.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously the only one to hit the bottom bracket is foul effluence. So.
Yeah, I mean, someone please correct me. Like, I want to find a use for this warlord trait. It's just a coin flip for one mortal wound. It just feels so weak.
Yeah, maybe there's some kind of, maybe there's something we're missing, like a synergy with I don't know, like a relic or something else. But this is, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm missing something, please tell me. I want to make this work. But a coin flip for one mortal wound is just not strong enough for me.
No, no. So yeah, that's our rundown of the warlord traits for the Deathguard. If you want to know what we thought of the Play Company warlord traits, then it's in a previous video. There'll probably be a link at the end of this one, and then we're going to be doing a whole host of these videos next. I can't guarantee what will be the next one, but we'll probably be doing deadly pathogens. We'll be doing 7 disgustingly good combos. So that's going to be looking at how the stratagems, relics, warlord traits, data sheets kind of all interact and how you can get the most out of very specific combinations. And trust me, there are some good ones. And then we'll be looking at, our favorite data sheets as well.
Yeah. And then hopefully we'll have all of that out in the next week. So right in time for the Dark Angels book.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. If you found this video helpful, or if you just liked it in general, then hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps us out loads. Apart from that, from me
and me,
and of course Big E.
Big E.
We'll see you later.